Welcome to the Blues Trail Revisited podcast. It's episode 15, and I'm Ted Reed. This podcast is sponsored by the Clarksdale Tourism Commission at www.visitclarksdale.com. This podcast is an offshoot of a film I finished this year about my return to the Mississippi Delta to rediscover the places I first encountered 50 years ago. To see the film, just go to www.bluestrailrevisited.com.
I come from a river town, talking about nothing to do. Mosquitoes come out when the sun goes down, gives off a sticky too. The Mississippi Delta, the birthplace of the blues. I was born right here in the 662.
No matter how many times I've visited Clarksdale, either for a festival, filming my movies, or just to hang out, there's always something new to discover that I never knew before. One of the best ways to get to know the home of the Delta Blues is to take a tour. Now, there's a great audio tour you can download from the Visit Clarksdale website at www.visitclarksdale.com/tour. Or if you'd like a personal guide to show you around, there are a lot of options. One of the longest living tour guides is Robert Birdsong. He's a bartender and retired firefighter. I talked with him in between tours at the bar at Hobson Commissary, just out of town, right next to the Shack Up Inn.
I was born smack dab in the 662. Yeah.
I'm here with Robert Birdsong at Hobson Commissary in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And Robert does tours.
I love the history of Clarksdale. I always have since I was a young child.
What kind of tours do you do?
Normally, the history from the Indians, the early settlers, Tennessee Williams, civil rights, and blues.
So, what does somebody get to see on one of your tours, or is it different each time?
Well, that's pretty much it. We do a downtown tour. Custom tours are fun, you know. If you wanted to come in and just look for something, that would be wonderful. I love it, you know.
How would you feel if I came to Clarksdale and didn't take a tour?
Wouldn't bother me at all. It would bother me if you didn't come to Clarksdale.
Well, we'll keep that in mind. How do people get in touch with you if they want to take a tour with you?
I'm at Mississippi Mojo at yahoo.com. Spell it out, MISSISSIPPIMOJO at yahoo.com. Anything abbreviated would be Miss Mojo, and I'm not going there.
Very good. Robert, thank you very much. Hope you are deluged with people who want to find out more about Clarksdale.
I hope Clarksdale is deluged with people who want to find out about Clarksdale. You don't have to worry me, but come to Clarksdale.
But I'm going to Rodale, gonna take my ride up by my side. But I'm going to Rodale, gonna take my ride by my side. We can steal Bell House, baby, 'cause it's on the riverside.
Clarksdale has the privilege of having two rivers running through it. One, of course, is the mighty Mississippi. The other is the Sunflower River, which runs right through the center of town. On its banks is the headquarters of another Clarksdale guide, John Rusky and his Quapaw Canoe Company. When I met John, he was down by the riverside carving out a canoe from a giant log with a hand axe.
Let me ask you something. Were you ever a baseball player? You got a good swing.
Yeah. No, this is from decades. I've been doing this for almost 30 years.
You've developed a good arm. Now what you've got here is basically a big old log with a couple of other logs You got, how'd you attach these two?
Approximately 2 tons. And the process is to create a canoe light enough that 2 people can get it to the water's edge and paddle away with it. And this is actually a community project that hundreds of people have participated in and is supported in part by the Mississippi Arts Commission and other partners, Walter Anderson Museum of Art and the Lower Mississippi River Foundation. And all canoes require hundreds, if not thousands, of hours of work.
I'm talking with John Ruskey at the Mississippi River Interpretive Center of Quapaw Canoe Company here in Clarksdale, Mississippi. And John, welcome to the Blues Trail Revisited podcast.
Awesome, good to be here. Thank you.
Tell me, how long has Quapaw been here?
Well, the canoe company, Quapaw, has been here since 1998. So about 23 years.
How did it get started?
Well, I was the curator at the Delta Blues Museum, and always had a little bit of a wild streak, and as a lifelong water lover, I started getting bored being indoors, or feeling trapped, I guess is a better word. Kind of like Huck, you know, he had to get out of town, and my out of town was on the other side of the county. The great Mississippi River flows through western Mississippi and actually defines the border, and that was my playground.
Amazing. When did you come here, and where did you come from?
Well, I'm born and raised Colorado kid. My father's from British Columbia, my mother from a 5-generation Colorado family. And but like I said, I've always loved water and the smell of things growing along rivers and mud. And I literally, after high school, followed the rivers downstream and ended up in Mississippi.
Tell me about the tours that you do out of here. I mean, it sounds like if you were really ambitious, you could go on a long one, or if you just want to go out on the water for a day or something like that, you can accommodate that too. Give me a description.
Yeah, that's correct. We at Quapaw Canoe Company are a custom guided canoe, kayak, paddleboard company. We offer, it doesn't matter how you do it. You could do it on a log, but you got to get it on the water. That's the thing. Once you get over the levee, you're on the biggest river floodplain in North America, and the river commands the landscape with complete command, in that it fluctuates 50 vertical feet in any given year, you know, which is kind of like the Bay of Fundy, the muddy waters, which in August or September might just appear to be a trickle. I mean, there's still enough water there, you know, to run towboats and steamboats and stuff like that. But from the distance, it appears to be just a trickle. Grows, swells to flood stage, and sometimes climbs up the sides of the levee, and sometimes breaches the levee and pours into the agricultural fields and the communities along the length of the river. Right. So it's a river. We call her the queen, and we are her worker bees, and we do what she says. And the river has created the Mississippi Delta. I mean, if you go back and want to know what the roots of the Mississippi Delta are, it all goes back to the flooding of the river, because the river created this entire rich alluvial floodplain that we're in, that gave birth to the forests, the biggest trees in North America, Teddy Roosevelt said, that were cut and became the Cotton Kingdom, that today are still some of the richest soils in the world.
When was the last big flood here?
2011. We had highest waters in this stretch of river since 1927, which was the biggie. That was the worst natural disaster in American history, people say. And in some places, 2011 was actually higher. Like in Vicksburg and Natchez, it was higher than it was in 1927.
What prevented it from being as catastrophic as the 1927 flood?
Well, the big difference is we learned a lesson, and those engineers, I'm talking about the Army Corps of Engineers, very wisely, after 1927, very wisely moved the levees away from the river and allowed the river a lot more room to swell and flood and do things that rivers like to do. And they also built the levee considerably taller and stouter. And so the levee did not break in the way it did. There were a couple places that it did go over the top of the levee, but there was no catastrophic failure like there was in 1927.
If it keeps on raining, levee's going to break. If it keeps on raining, levee's going to break. When the levee breaks, have no place to stay. Meet old levee, come in a weep and moan. Meet old levee, come in a weep and moan. It's got what it takes to make a mountain man leave his home.
What does Quapaw mean?
Quapaw means the downstream people. And the name is the, I discovered, it was the first time I heard of the Quapaw. I started going out afternoons and exploring the Mississippi River in a two-person canoe, and the closest landing to downtown Clarksville is Quapaw Landing. And this was in the early 90s. And by and by, I started taking people out one at a time, and started showing neighborhood kids how to carve canoes, because I also started carving canoes in that time period. So when I started the canoe company, Quapaw just seemed like a neat name, Quapaw Canoe Company, and had nice alliteration to it. And later I discovered, not shortly thereafter, that Quapaw is actually the name of the people, the Quapaw people, who inhabited this part of the world, particularly down at the confluence of the Arkansas River, which comes out of Colorado and ends up at the Mississippi, not too far south of here, where we're sitting today in downtown Clarksville. And Quapaw literally means, it's part of their tribal history, their long-term association with water literally means a downstream people. Uqapa, I think, is how they pronounced it, and they are the southernmost of the Sioux people. They're linguistically connected to the Omaha and the Kansas and other Sioux nations.
When you take visitors down the river, do you try to educate them about Native American history and what they're doing and what the tie into that is?
If people are interested, yeah. Because everything has a story, and if you spend enough time on the river, you'll see that the often recited saying that life goes in circles and everything comes around and let it flow. On the river, it is literal, because water is always seeking the curve, and you're always flowing around curves. And the Quapaw and the Mississippian people before them. And on the Mississippi River, it is so expansive and runs from horizon to horizon. Only the sky is bigger. That it's difficult, especially for first-timers, to grasp the scale of the river and what it's doing. And so storytelling brings to life and makes the connections, helping read between the lines that you can't see there in the lines.
That's what I experienced. The first time I came down here 50 years ago, we were in the process of trying to find the last living blues legends and making a movie about that. And at the end of the trip, we found a place near the river, just a little bit north of here, actually. And it was the end of the day, and we sat down and we watched the sun go down, and it was just like one of those spiritual moments that you never forget. It was just breathtaking and yet peaceful at the same time. And I bet a lot of visitors experience that same thing too.
We have people who lie down because they've never seen the sky that big, and just look at the sky in the middle of a sandbar on the river, and other people are mesmerized by the flowing water and compare it to experiences they had on the Grand Canyon or in Alaska.
Mississippi River is so long, deep and wide. I can see my good girl standing on that other side. I cried and I called. I could not make my baby hear. Lord, I'm gonna get in me a boat, mama, paddle on away from him.
You were showing me a picture here in this book, The Tunica Biloxi by Jeffrey Brain. A picture of downtown Clarksdale. How many years ago?
Not too long ago, maybe 400 years ago. This was depicted in the time that DeSoto might have passed through what we think was the town that he talks about in his journals, or his journal keepers talk about, called Keys, Q-U-I-Z, Q-U-I-Z. In the original of this painting, it's an artist's depiction of what downtown Clarksdale looked like in those times. Is in the Carnegie Library here in Clarksdale. We're one of the Carnegie libraries. And what it is showing is a village full of mounds and one big mound right on the banks of the river. And this is the Sunflower River, which is right behind us here, flowing through downtown Clarksdale. And archaeologists think that 2,000 to 3,000 Mississippian people lived here at that time in the 1400s. And the Sunflower River at that time, we know, geologists, you can see it. You can see it if you look at maps, or if you look at Google Earth of Clarksdale, you'll see that this Mississippi River used to flow on the north edge of town. And this, in that time, was actually a Mississippi River town. And the Sunflower was a distributary of that river. So when the river flowed over its banks and into what are known as distributaries, which carry water out of a big river, and the water follows the river and then later comes back into the river. And in the case of the Sunflower, it takes 225 miles in present day for it to get to the Mississippi. And you're seeing canoes, dozens of canoes here, and people in the canoes on the river, and the canoes pulled up to the bank, and huts, and some mounds, and a temple on top of one of the mounds. I guess that's a temple. And this is all based on archaeological evidence, and not a lot else. And lo and behold, the dugout canoe is the transportation for these people, as they were for probably every nation living during that time period in the lower Mississippi Valley, because the canoe was like the truck of today. If you wanted to haul something from point A to point B, the easiest way to do it was in a hollow vessel that floated in the water.
Describe the canoe that you're building out back, the one that you were digging out before. When you describe what that project was as a community project, tell me how that works.
Well, the dugout involves thousands of hours of chopping. mostly with an ads. And no one person should do that alone unless they're just, want to indulge in self-inflicted pain. So it's kind of like but it's also kind of like the Tom Sawyer thing. You don't want to do it alone, and you want others to help, and it's funner when somebody else helps. So we approach all of our dugout canoe projects as a community project, and try to involve as many of our townspeople and others to participate at that and enjoy the journey. It becomes a journey because you start with a log and you end up with this functional piece of art.
So when visitors come to Clarksdale and they want to talk to you and maybe even go on the river and all of that stuff, how do they come find you?
Well, we're pretty prominently located in downtown Clarksdale at 3rd and Sunflower, right across from Meraki Coffee Shop. And there are canoes all over the place here. You can't miss them. You can't miss us. But we're mostly on the river, actually, and that is our workplace. And the river's our queen, and we're her worker bees. And so the easiest way to find us is actually getting online and doing a Google search or going to Quapaw, the website, which is island63.com. Next weekend, we'll be doing a bachelor trip for a good friend of ours who is one of the leaders at Spring Initiative. And tomorrow we'll be on a 3-day yoga retreat with a yogi from Greenwood. And she'll come and teach yoga every morning from our camp on an island in the middle of the river.
John, thank you very much for coming on the Blues Trail Revisited podcast. I think a lot of people who probably thought being on the river was too much of a challenge now have a different idea about what's in store for them. And I think it's a terrific idea, and it's a great departure from just sitting around listening to music, which you got to admit is pretty fun too. But this sounds great, and it's a beautiful river, and I hope lots of people come and enjoy it. Thank you.
Oh, thank you, Ted. I hope to see you sometime on those waters.
Well, I intend to on my next trip down here.
Great. Yeah, 50 years. You got some history down here, brother.
I do. Thank you.
All right, I'll leave you off with, we call this the Quapaw Hoop. It's a signal we give to each other out on the water. I'm not going to do it directly in your microphone. Woo!
Thanks. Talk to you soon. Bye.
Let it rain, let it pour, let it rain a whole lot more, 'cause I got them deep river blues. Let the rain drive right on, let the waves sweep along, 'cause I got them deep river blues.
I'd like to thank everyone for listening to the Blues Trail Revisited podcast in partnership with Visit Clarksdale. You can watch the film that inspired this podcast by going to www.bluestrailrevisited.com. And you can find out a lot more about Clarksdale, Mississippi by going to visitclarksdale.com or download the app and check out all the cool interactive features. I'd like to shout out a special hello to the folks at Live from Clarksdale and Shared Experiences USA. There's still live stream music from Clarksdale and organizing special Delta experiences, including Clarksdale's Black History Experience and Deke Harp's Blues Experience. Check out their Facebook page or livefromclarksdale.com and sharedexperiencesUSA.com. I'm Ted Reed, and to all you blues music fans out there, keep on hitting the blues trail. You never know what you're going to find. The Blues Trail Revisited podcast is produced by Ted Reed Productions. The field audio producer is Nolan Dean, and our project manager is Jamie Nyes. Thanks for listening.